Hello and welcome to episode 105 of Third and Wrong. I'm your co-host Stephen Bullen, and with me as always is Zach and Ozzy. I guess I wasn't here as always. I was missing last week, but thank you boys for holding it down. Ozzy, how are things, my friend?
Things are swell. I'm breaking in the new headphones.
There you go,
So check
living
it out.
lavishly.
Living
And then we got
lavishly.
Zach. Zach, how are things, my friend?
Good. Weather's getting better. Not so gross outside. Hopefully, I'm not cutting out here. We were having troubles earlier, guys. So let me know.
They got you down in the dungeon, Zach, so I'm not surprised the bandwidth is low.
That's right.
All right, guys. So coming into this episode, I was a little worried. Like after, I guess, listening to last week's episode, I was like, "What are we going to talk about?" I mean, you know, not a lot going on. And then I think I think it happened Friday, a little Friday news dump. We get a series of blockbuster trades. And so it started with the 49ers and the Miami Dolphins making a trade with the Niners trading all the way up to pick number 3. The Dolphins receiving the 12th pick, which they then subsequently traded up to get the 6th pick. So a whole bunch of things going down. So we're just going to break it down like this. Miami got pick number 6 and number 56, which is a second round pick from the Eagles. They got a 2022 first and a third rounder from the 49ers, and they got a 2023 first round pick from the 49ers. The 49ers got pick number 3 from Miami, which was originally Houston's, and the Eagles received the 12th pick via Miami, via 49ers, and the 123rd pick, fourth rounder from Miami, and a 2022 first round pick from Miami, because Miami just has first round picks to spend like crazy. So let's tackle this one thing at a time, guys. Let's first start with the 49ers. I think that's the most intriguing area to start here is why did they trade up all that capital to get to number 3? There's been plenty of speculation of Fields to Mac Jones to Trey Lance. It's everything swirling around. Will the Jets take Wilson? If not, do the 49ers take Zach Wilson? Why did Shanahan and John Lynch trade all this capital for the number 3 pick? And if it's for Mac Jones, I'll be celebrating, but I'm not sure how many 49ers fans will be. So, and what does it mean for Jimmy Garoppolo? That's another big question we're going to have to tackle. So first, the 49ers impressions. I really think this is for Justin Fields. I can't see how they would justify going to number 3 for Mac Jones. I know mock drafts aren't the end all be all, but I think a lot of Mac Jones isn't really projected to go outside or inside the top 10. He was more projected in that anywhere from like 11 to he's getting mocked to the Saints at like 28. But at the same time, sometimes we see a run on a position, whether it's receiver or offensive tackle and mainly quarterback. And all of a sudden, maybe Mac Jones is going to the Panthers at 8. So I can see why the 49ers would trade all of that up. But at the same time, if it's for Mac Jones, I don't really see it. Same with Trey Lance. I kind of see him being a later top 10 pick, like whether that's the 7 through 10 range. I see him maybe going to the Panthers as well. But if it's for Mac Jones, that's a really big head scratcher and that's a lot of capital to give up. But at the same rate, I don't know if Shanahan's ever really had the opportunity to get his guy. Like there was rumors that he liked Kirk Cousins, and I think Kirk chose a sign in Minnesota. I'm not really too sure how that played out. And then they traded for Jimmy Garoppolo. But as far as going and drafting his guy, they really never went and did that, even with guys like Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes on the board in 2017. So now they've given up the capital. They have pick number 3. And I think Justin Fields would fit that really well. Obviously, this isn't our mock draft episode. That'll come later in April. But Ozzy, I'm curious as to your opinion on it first. Kind of being, I gotta say a 49er fan, but you like Jimmy G. You cheered for them in the Super Bowl 2 years ago, or last year, I suppose. What are your early feelings on this?
Yeah, this has been very interesting because of the implications it has on Jimmy G, as you alluded to. So the thing that that's very interesting is that there's a couple of good prospects that I think any of them would fit well in Shanahan's system. Like basically, you name Kyle Shanahan, you could say a lot of quarterbacks would fit in that system and work in that system. So I think that the reason why like they're happy to go to 3, not knowing if Zach Wilson will be on the board or not, there's a good couple prospects there in Trey Lance and Justin Fields who, if Zach Wilson's taken second overall, they're going to have their pick of the litter still in a way. So it's very interesting. And to have Jimmy G somebody had mentioned that it's kind of like Kansas City when they drafted Patrick Mahomes. They were still a powerhouse with Alex Smith, which is weird to say, at quarterback. And then, and yet they still went and they traded up and still got their quarterback of the future. And I think that kind of speaks to a lot of how the 49ers feel as of right now. It seems like they're fine to ride it out with Jimmy G. That's basically the vibe that I'm kind of getting. And, so ride it out with Jimmy for at least a year. There was rumors that they were going to trade for Teddy Bridgewater for backup depth anyways. So now you get a possible young star on a rookie contract as your backup depth who can redshirt for a year behind Jimmy Garoppolo, who's won in this system before. And then who knows what happens after this year. But I think that right now it's just, let's get our guy, get him locked up for 4 or 5 years. And then we'll figure it out after we see how Jimmy G can hold up this next year.
Really good call. And they've come out and said Jimmy G's our guy. Obviously, you can't really take anyone's word for anything nowadays. I think it was the famous tweet that keeps getting retweeted from the Cardinals, where it's like Josh Rosen is our guy, a quote from Cliff Kingsbury. And then they went and drafted Kyler first overall. And that was with earning the first overall pick, not trading a bunch of capital to go up and get it. So Zach, your thoughts? I know you're kind of side more with me when it comes to Jimmy G. Do you buy the red shirt prediction, or do you think whoever they draft here at number 3 is going to be starting week 1?
You put some pressure on that team by moving up to 3 and picking a quarterback here. I think it would be hilarious if they went and if Zach Wilson fell to them and they go pick another quarterback who has injury problems and then bring him in after Jimmy G's been there. And, I think that's one thing Kyle Shanahan really wants to get away from here. It's interesting for me is you look back at Shanahan's history and like the quarterbacks he's been with, who he has most success with and such, but Fields has reminded a lot of people of the RG3 debacle that happened in Washington prior with Shanahan. And he did have success, mind you, but he has drawn that comparison with the speed and accuracy and such. Man, if they traded up all the way to 3 to get Mac Jones, I mean, there's also a saying, and you go up and you get your guy, but like, obviously they could have moved to potentially 6th. There was room to move there, and Mac Jones would have easily probably been there at that point as well. I think that's a smokescreen, as Mac Jones didn't perform amazing at his pro day, and he's kind of been looked at as that 4th or 5th guy on draft boards. The only reason I can see it linked there is Mac Jones is the kind of guy who, when he plays in a clean pocket with good play action, he is a very accurate quarterback, which fits right into Shanahan, who is more looking at playing that zone scheme with lots of play action and ability to throw down the field. So it does fit, but it just doesn't make sense to me to move up to 3 to get that. I think we are going Fields here, and we're going to get away from this smoke screen down the line. Fields is just too much of a talent, and he's really impressed me as of late. So that's where I think they'll end up going with it. And finally, Shanahan can get his young monster talent there and, really see what he can do. Sorry, Steve.
Yeah, that's painful. One thing we haven't considered, and I don't think a lot of people haven't, because I don't think that's the case, is if they kind of did like this for, how the Falcons did it back in 2011 for Julio Jones, if they did this for potentially the best receiver in the draft, whether they pick Waddle or Jamar Chase or, who knows, right? Oh. So I don't know if that's the case, though, because they already have Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk. But imagine if they went and did this and got Pitts. All of a sudden you got him and Kittle or something like that, right? So, and maybe they really do believe.
Did you just imagine that for a second? Holy crap!
I'd rather not.
Pitts? What?
God, that'd be
Steve
awful.
would be piddling his pants over there.
Yeah, I don't even think you could have 3 or 4 Jamal Adams on the Seahawks defense. I don't know if it's stopping that tight end duo. So, right. Wouldn't be great. So, guys, maybe let's tackle this now from Miami's perspective. Well, many thought potentially they'd be taking a quarterback at number 3 after some are wanting them to pull the plug on Tua. But after going back to the 12th pick and then jumping back up to 6, it looks like they're going to be trying to build around Tua instead. So there's still going to be an opportunity to draft some playmakers there. I don't know if I'm going to butcher his name, Sewell or Selwell, the offensive tackle, is going to be there, but they could use it as an opportunity to bolster the offensive line. They could take one of those myriad of receivers that are available. This receiver class looks just as loaded as last year's kind of going into it. Or maybe Pitts is still available at that point and you pair him with Mike Gesicki. So quite a few options for them. And I like how they're building. Anyways, it looks like they're going to be building around Tua, because I am under the impression that I think it's too early to pull the plug on him. Yes, he showed a lot to be desired, but I think he was still only a year removed from that dislocated hip or fractured hip or something like that. So having a full regular off season now, as close to regular as can possibly be with COVID, I think he's going to get a better understanding of that offense. I believe they came out and said they're actually crafting the playbook around Tua. So they're going to be adding some plays that plays to his strengths and not necessarily more of maybe what they had a generic thing going on with Fitzpatrick and Tua. So I think we can see that next step. And if it doesn't work out, you can say you gave him, a year and a half, and they got the draft capital next year to kind of replace him if necessary. So what do you guys think of Miami being at number 6 now? We'll go to you first, Zach.
Yeah, you mentioned the name that I want here prior. I want Kyle Pitts going to them. There's nothing better for Tua than a tight end who can play wide receiver with the same size as Megatron. So this guy would be absolutely amazing for Tua. Sure hands, red zone threat, and, can be very durable in an offense that has a few weapons already. I think it's hilarious that people are selling out on Tua. I've voiced that prior. Give him some weapons, build that offense around him a bit, and we'll see what happens. And Kyle Pitts fits that completely. You can play him wide receiver, like I said, move him into tight end, and he can match up against anyone athletically and get the job done. I just think it's the perfect fit.
I like that. That'd be nice if he dropped there. Ozzy, what are you thinking as far as a Miami division foe, looking like they're still fortifying that roster and they have the capital to do it?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of, I think Zach's right on. I think they do take a guy like Pitts or one of the top wide receivers. I don't see them going anywhere other than offense at this point, because part of me thinks that they could go O-line at 6 as well, but they double dipped early on with the first two, within the first 2 rounds. They grabbed Austin Jackson last year in the first, and then Robert Hunt in the second. So I don't think that they will go offensive line there, and Brian Flores is a defensive guy, but who's there at 6 that you really love? And I think that they were able to get an additional first round pick, move back a spot, and still get their guy in Kyle Pitts. Like, I think that Zach's bang on in that, because they got Mike Gesicki. He was supposed to be kind of like that safety net, and now you add on Kyle Pitts. It's just, they added Will Fuller at wide receiver, but he's kind of like he's a guy you can't rely on. So I wouldn't be surprised if they went wide receiver either. But all that's to say, I think those are the 2 positions they're eyeing up.
And I think Pitts could fall there. I mean, if we were to do a quick mock, so to speak, and again, stay tuned for our actual mock episode. Tomac's going to join us mid-April. So we got the Jaguars, Jets, and 49ers all presumably taking quarterbacks. The Falcons are kind of a wild card, but I see them with bigger needs than a tight end at this point, even though a very great weapon at that. But they already have Julio and Calvin Ridley. And then you have the Bengals, who I think would be idiotic to not take Sewell. I'm going to get that right by next episode, I promise. They need to go offensive line. They have to address that. And if they don't, I don't know what I just don't know what to think if they don't. But their offseason hasn't impressed me at all. I think that's kind of a consensus.
Jamar Chase, man.
Oh, yeah.
Just to pair him up.
And then you have the Dolphins at 6. So Pitts very well could fall right to their laps. I mean, yeah, you don't have to classify him as just a tight end. He can just be your offensive weapon, and you kind of play him all over the field. You can play him at the X, play him as a tight end, and just let him go to work. And and then you have the Lions after that, probably going defense or receiver. So I think Pitts really lines up for them there. And that shows that they're committing to Tua at least for another year. Because I mean, if Tua doesn't get it right this year, and the Dolphins also have another first round pick, I believe, they can probably get a running back to kind of pair with everyone. So I like what they're doing there. And then finally, guys, from the Eagles' perspective, I know Tristan was really worried that they could potentially be looking at another quarterback when they originally had the 6th pick. And I don't think that would have boded well for old Mr. Jalen Hurts there. But it looks like they're committing to him now. But many Eagles fans are a little upset that, okay, now we're missing out on that top flight talent. Maybe Rondale Moore is available at that point. Maybe Devonta Smith is still there, but maybe the Giants take him to try to bluster that receiving corps. So I can understand from the Eagles fans' perspective, you're kind of missing out on that exciting top 5, top 6 kind of talent that's there, but they also get a pick on the back end, and they have a potential to have 3 first-round picks next year with the Carson Wentz trade potentially elevating from a second to a first if they believe it's a number of snaps or if they make the playoffs or something like that. So from Philly's perspective, and Ozzy, I'll go to you because you're kind of the Philly hater. What's that look like for you? Are you impressed with the move from Philly's perspective, or do you think there was a miss by them?
No, I think it's really smart. It ends a lot of that quarterback speculation, like you had mentioned. And then with the run on quarterbacks that we're kind of predicting, I think 4 are going to be taken in the first 12 picks. So you're going to have a really good player fall to you. And I don't know if that's going to be offensive line. And Sewell, their defense could use some work as always. It seems to always be bad or battered by injuries. So to get some depth at 12 wouldn't hurt. So I think that this is a really good deal for them because you're kind of stuck in no man's land. And like you said, you get possibly more than likely 3 first-round picks next year. So you've got some ammunition to move up if the Jalen Hurts experiment does fail. And if it does fail, you're presumably picking high next year anyway. So you're not going to need a whole lot of trade ammunition, but you have it there now to move up a couple spots if you do need to get a quarterback. So I do really like this move for the Eagles because they just need talent to surround Jalen Hurts with. And I think that now they have a lot more ability to do that.
It's kind of funny. Both these teams we've mentioned now, the Dolphins and the Eagles, kind of just patterning the landing area if their franchise quarterbacks happen to not work out. They got a little backup plan in their back pocket. Zach, how do you see this mapping out for the Eagles?
To build on what you're saying, I was going to run right in and say this was absolutely an amazing thing for the Eagles. So first of all, it gives Jalen Hurts some stability, knowing that they're not going after the top 4 quarterbacks. But the big thing for me is this isn't a top-heavy draft in defense, but going down to 12, you fall into the area where you can start looking at guys on the defensive side, and it wouldn't be considered a bad pick. If you look at the defense with the Philadelphia Eagles last year, they ranked 22nd in stopping the run. Hitting 12, you're falling right into the Micah Parsons, linebacker, Penn State, arguably the best linebacker in the draft. Really aggressive linebacker who's great at stopping the run. I think he falls into their lap perfectly at 12. They bolster up their defense a bit more as they need. If they go offense here, it bugs me because they've been picking in that teen area before getting Jalen last year, Rieger, and then the year before in the second round taking JJ Arcega-Whiteside. I know if Tristan's listening to this, he's going to hate me for saying it, but just because it was his first year. But Jalen Rieger was a disappointment last year, and JJ Arcega-Whiteside's been absolutely a disappointment as well. So I could definitely see them trying to bolster the weapons. My opinion, I think we be patient there, let Hurts get to know those wide receivers, give them another shot. But we are in that NFL where we're no longer patient. Look at us talking about Tua after 11 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and 1 bad game. Everyone's ready to pull the plug already. We need to slow down a bit. I think they need to build depth and they need to get quality here. And I think Parsons is absolutely perfect for them at 12.
I like that, Zach. It's amazing how fast the expectations have grown. I mean, you look at Alex Smith's first year with the 49ers, where they went, I think, like 2-14 with him as their starting quarterback as a rookie. I mean, he'd be out of the league after the first year if in today's NFL. It's crazy. Like these guys don't get a shot, and these teams now situate themselves, whether through strategic trading or sheer luck, in a position to replace them the next year. Like you look at Miami, just the Houston pick fell on their lap, and they could have easily replaced them. Philadelphia now has the picks to replace him next year. It's really, it's wild just to kind of see how you got to win, and you got to win faster. You're not going to make it in the NFL.
Before you move on though, I wanted to say too, I know there's a lot of like good wide receivers coming out. If Smith or Chase don't fall and they go Waddle, is it Waddle? I say his name hilariously. They went there, that would be a bad pick for them, as Rieger and him are so similar, but I could just see them picking another wide receiver here, and just all the Eagles fans would be so excited about getting another weapon for Jalen Hurts, and then it turns out that just don't fit in the system. So let's hope they go. Let's hope they go and build that quality up here. So
absolutely.
For the love of God, don't go wide receiver, Philly.
Just hope you hit on a undrafted guy at this point, because the ones you're investing real draft capital into aren't working out.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk. Let's go circle back to Jimmy G here. Ozzy, you put this one in the doc. I'm going to just tell it how it is. We're not going to present this with any fluff or presentation. You put this in the doc. I don't know what it's doing here, but there's rumors of Jimmy G to New England. Where, when, and why did you hear this?
I just keep seeing all these stupid reports coming from every time I go onto the Patriots stream on Bleacher Report. It's like another report saying, oh, the Pats haven't given up hope on Jimmy G, and now the trade. It's like, oh, Jimmy G's on his way out. Don't trust what they say. He's on his way. He's as good as gone, as everyone's saying. Miss me with that, you guys. Like, come on. Jimmy G is like, he's a good quarterback, and I'd welcome him back. But at the same time, I don't want to see him back, if I'm being honest. Like, I actually do want to see what happens with Cam Newton, and like how it works out now that he's actually got legitimate wide receivers around him, and not just like us, the equivalent of us at wide receiver.
Hey man, I make a good slot receiver. I just run my little hook routes and just hit me quick, and then I'll just fall to the ground right away.
Exactly. And that's basically all he had. And then he had brick hands like me, and then Zach's the equivalent of what we had at tight end. So
nice. Great. Like absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
I'm really happy. That's who I got. Thanks, man.
Hey man, I'm pretty sure I'm old ass Jules. So Jules.
Yeah, exactly. So I actually do want to see what happens. I'm genuinely curious as how, because I don't think the fall off for Cam was as bad as it looked last year. Like I think that it was a combination of things. And from the 49ers side of things, I think that it doesn't make sense. They just wanted to trade for Teddy Bridgewater to get depth. Why would you get into a position that you're going to have that depth that you wanted, plus with the upside of a potential franchise quarterback, all to trade it away? And now you're back at square one with an unproven prospect, and you have to go get CJ Beathard back to like, it's not a position that they want to be in. And for what, like, you're going to get a second round pick. I doubt Jimmy G fetches a first. If at best, I think it's a second, and all the leverage is gone now that they've just traded up 3 first-round picks for their quarterback. So It doesn't make sense from the 49ers side, just as of now. That's why I said earlier when we were discussing the trade, I think that it makes sense to, after this year, see what happens. But to do it now before the season starts, I just don't think that it's right. And again, from the Patriots side, I think that we have enough in the building right now that if it would suck to have another losing season, but then at that point, maybe turn the page to, because I don't know. Jimmy G's been so injured over the last little bit. I don't want to rely on him as my quarterback either.
Yeah. And you make a good point.
Rely on unproven Jarrett Stidham.
Yeah, you have, and it'd be a weird quarterback dynamic having Cam Newton and Jimmy Garoppolo fighting for the number 1 spot. unless they sent Cam back the other way. But Cam's on a very team-friendly deal. Like they call it 1 year, 15 million, but I'm pretty sure more than 75% of that's incentive-based. It kind of averages out to like 1 year, 5 million or something. So I just don't really see the merit in trading for Jimmy Garoppolo. I've softened my stance on him. I think he's a good quarterback and he does what he's supposed to well. I don't think he's a bad quarterback, but at the same time, if I'm New England, I'm not trading a second for him. That's certainly out of the question. I'd maybe trade a fourth or a fifth for him if I didn't have Cam Newton and like say it was just Jared Stidham in the building. So I like what San Francisco is doing in that they're going to have Jimmy Garoppolo there, and he's going to either put pressure on the number one, and they have a quarterback competition, and the best guy wins, and then that other guy's ready to go. And I don't think Nick Mullins or CJ Beathard have signed with anyone, so that goes to show exactly like other teams must be looking at it and be like, man, if Shanahan couldn't fix y'all, man, then we're out. So
seriously,
I mean, not even Seattle took a waiver on him, and we have Geno Smith as our backup. So I mean, go figure. So I think Jimmy G is probably a 49er through 2021, and then probably revisit this January or February of 2022. Guys, let's talk. Oh,
Hey,
Zach.
hey.
Oh yeah. Oh, sorry. I didn't know you had anything else to add on Jimmy G, and I don't want to hear any Cam slander. So
the disrespect.
You're being censored on this podcast.
So no, Jimmy G, I think if there was a trade that is going to come out of this, it's not going to be till after the draft when we figure out who the 49ers get and they see how much they kind of like the prospect. So say they get Fields and they feel he's ready to go. The reason I say that is they actually save a shit ton of money after June 1st when they do. If they trade Garoppolo after June 1st, they save a whole buttload of money. So I think the prospect would come up again down the road after the draft. So we'll see who they draft and go from there. But I mean, I'm not going to jump into who I like there. You guys know my stances on Jimmy G and Cam Newton. It's all shit. So just kidding. Jimmy's all right in the right system, but yeah.
When the 49ers draft Mac Daddy Jones and he loses the starting job to Jimmy Garoppolo, that'll be fun for them.
It feels so cringy to see like 3 first-round picks traded for a guy in a Alabama system, like just not ideal.
I mean, yeah, like I think the old adage of like the Alabama quarterbacks might not be as true as it once was, but like I remember I think was it not Colt McCoy? Who am I thinking of though? It was someone came out of Alabama, Greg McElroy, and I remember everyone's like, oh, maybe him. And that never worked out. And because like Alabama's always been like this run first, like hard defense game. But then over the last couple of years, they've really shifted their gears and they saw kind of the way the wind and the tides were going. And they just started recruiting a bunch of 5-star wide receiver and quarterbacks. And now they've put out Jalen Hurts, who I guess ended up transferring, and Tua was there. And I'm probably missing a bunch of other ones. I don't follow college football as closely as I would like, but I watched a coaching clinic with Steve Sarkisian, their former offensive coordinator. Now I think he's the head coach at the University of Texas, and he's kind of breaking down his RPO concepts. And I think what he was saying was like the reads never really change. Like no matter what the play, like here's your first read, here's your second read, here's your third read. So he's very good at progressing through his reads. But I don't want to say it's a spoon-fed offense, but I think it is something that caters to his strengths, and it's RPO-based, play action-based, and it's there for him, right? And I think he can have that with Shanahan. And if Shanahan can provide him with that same comfort, then I think he could succeed. But why not have that with someone who can also make plays with their feet and make those other kind of things like Fields and kind of make some things happen? I'm not saying Fields is like a run first quarterback. He's a pocket passer that can run. But I just think if you liked Mac Jones's skill set and he thinks he fits the system, I think that, like we said earlier, there's a better spot than trading all the way up to 3 for him. So that's where I kind of fall on that one. But any last thoughts on that blockbuster trades and everyone who it impacts? Nope. All right. Let's talk let's talk the NFL expanding to 17 game schedule. Guys, call me weird, but I hate this. Like for me, the aesthetics of like a 12-4 record or like a 13-3 record, or even like a, 9-7 record. Like those are very nice. Like, hey, you know how well that team did. What the hell am I supposed to make of a 10-7 team? Like they won 10 times, that's fantastic, but they lost 7 times. That kind of makes them mediocre because a 9-7 record in the 16 game schedule means you're a mediocre team. Or a really good team goes 13-5. Like or no, sorry, 13-4. I can't even get the math right. See, that's how confusing this is. So, or an 8-9 team. Now you're not gonna have a 500 team anymore unless you go 8-1. So just, I don't like it from that sake. I get like the new TV money, the extra game, it's more money. And so I understand that part of it. And maybe they end up going to an 18 game schedule like the CFL currently has, where the records again are a little more aesthetically pleasing. 12-6 looks nice. But am I being a nerd about this, guys, or do you not like the looks of this either? What are your thoughts on this, Zach?
No, Steve, I actually totally with you on, we grew up the 16 game schedule, and I really enjoyed always talking the records and where teams are at, and it kind of takes it all away now and like changes it to this different feel. But like you said, it's all a business move. Like, let me tell you, there with the cap falling, what's going on with the money right now is to get, things a little smoother on the money side of things. And I can see why they're doing it. Looking at it from like a player perspective, man, now you got to play another week of football. I think they're taking away a preseason game, but still different, still playing full speed, full games, already tons of injuries that come along with the NFL season. And we're going to be increasing that. I wish it would have been like you had alluded to, something more along the lines of going from 16 to 18 and figuring out the preseason from there. More aesthetically pleasing, as you had mentioned, but it's just weird. It's just a weird thing.
It is weird. It just seems like we're in like the Twilight Zone or something. Like it's just like, oh, my team went 11-6. Like, oh, sweet. And another thing too is I think they didn't add a second bye week, which is concerning. And so I understand they took away a preseason game, but you're taking away the 4th preseason game, which a lot of the starters didn't touch the field in anyways. So it seems like a pretty inadequate trade-off. And now I think that second preseason game becomes the dress rehearsal, whereas it used to be the third one. Ozzy, are we being nerds, or are you also on board with us here?
Yeah, no, I freaking hate this, you guys. I hate it. Because you know what's going to happen? 6 years from now, Patrick Mahomes is going to have like still only maybe a fraction of some of the records that Tom Brady has. But because he's got another game every year, it's going to freaking look so much better. Mm-hmm. He's going to have like 5,600 yards in a season, or 6,000 or something. And somebody's going to be like, oh man, he's the GOAT. And it's like, no, come on, let's be real about this. We got an extra game here. And so now like to kind of go across eras, you almost have to live and die by like the 16 game era. And then now this is the start of a new era. And if that happens, then fantastic. But it does make it hard to kind of cross-reference across history, which would have been nice to be able to have those types of things 10, 15, 20 years from now when Patrick Mahomes is still in. Like, okay, where is he at relative to Tom Brady or Peyton Manning, whatever. It would have, and the fact that there wasn't a second bye week, like Zach hit the nail on the head. Like, there's already a concern with all of these injuries, and the players, they want more breaks. The thing that gets me fired up about this is the fact that it just continues to show where the NFL is. And it really shows the difference between the NBA, which is like a players first league, and the NFL, which is a money first league, it seems. And I feel like if this was the NBA ownership, they would have introduced the second bye week just because it's better for the players. The players want that. But to just go ahead and do it this way, no second bye week, which actually would have worked out better just because of a holiday in the US, like the Super Bowl would be on a Sunday, there's a holiday on the Monday. People would love that. Aside from that, like it would just be good for the players. Why can't we just do something that's good for the people that are entertaining us, putting their bodies on the line every single year? Like, so
because that wouldn't get Jerry Jones's third yacht, but
no, it's brutal, man. And to see like, it is frustrating to watch, because you see players there already, like they're already fighting to kind of get paid and to get that next contract and this and that. And they're now they've got another game where they're going to face risk of injury. And I mean, it would have happened regardless, but to have that second bye week probably would have been invaluable to their bodies.
Yeah. And I think too, it's just
the only way.
Oh, go ahead, Zach.
No, go ahead, Steve. Finish what you're saying.
No, I was just gonna say, like, the you got to split the records now. Like, I think the last time the NFL went from 14 to 16 games was 1978, and so, but I don't really remember a lot of players prior to 1978 that were lighting up the record books. I mean, there's probably like Jim Brown and O.J. Simpson. Those are running backs. Johnny Unitas, Joe Namath. Okay, so there's quite a few, but I saw a thing that, like, after the NFL went from 14 to 16 games, it took 7 years for the passing yards season record to get broken. But I think in today's NFL, it's going to get broken. Like Ozzy said with Mahomes, like next year, it'll be like, oh, Mahomes got 17 games to work with. Here's 6,500 yards passing or something, like, just on a platter for us. So we're definitely going to have to adjust kind of records and stuff, because it's just different. You can't hold it on the same scale.
Yeah, this is on a little bit different of what Austin was saying, and you said too, Stephen. I was saying the injury side of it. The only way I could see them making the players happy here is if they took 2 preseason games away instead of just 1,
right,
and shortening the training camp. But then they're going to add another game down the road to 18, I'm assuming, at some point. So that's when they better bring in a second bye week, even if they drop it to 2 preseason games, because we're going to be having all these like star guys who play like, really like physical positions, and they're going to be getting hurt. And you can't keep taking a beating like that and just keep on ticking, So like, damn, it's like, They better take into consideration these players and their health.
Those poor running backs, man.
Yeah. Well, according to our friend Matthew Sentez, they're not going to be used as much if teams actually follow the analytical process. But I think the next time they can actually address this and go to 18 games is when the CBA expires. And so that's not until 2031. So we got 10 years of 17 games, and we'll see kind of what happens from there. All right, guys, on a final note with we'll put that to bed like that. The CFL and XFL talks are rumored to be merger based. This isn't breaking news, but when Randy Ambrosie came out and said, oh, we're just talking about talking, Dave Naylor, Farhan Lalji, a lot of insiders saying that's bullshit. They're much further along in talks than talking about talking. Like, they've had some serious talks about what the future entails for both of these leagues, and it's starting to look like a merger. And now fans, this is outside of the insider talk, fans are speculating on what a season would look like, when they would start, when they'd finish. The XFL wants to avoid in the NFL window. The CFL's end of season is essentially September through November, the second half of the entire season. But Canadian winters are super cold, so you can't really start training camps here in February. So there's that to iron out. And then there's the rules, everything from the field size to 3 downs or 4 downs to where the goalposts go. All that needs to be decided, guys. So since we don't have any insider information, and we're not going to pretend like we do, we're just going to approach it like this, guys. Pick anywhere from 1 to 3 must-keep Canadian football rules you would like to see in the event that a CFL-XFL merger happens. It's 2022. The 2 leagues have combined. We're going to have the Rough Riders playing the Tampa Bay Vipers week 1. What Canadian rules do you still want to see in that game? I'll go first. I still want to see 3 downs. I still want to see the Rouge. And I want 12 men on the field. The field size, I understand, is not compromisable, because I think it's going to be easier for these CFL size stadiums to go from the current size to potentially a little smaller, suiting like the NFL or XFL size field, because you can't ask those other stadiums to expand to a CFL size field. Like, it's just not physically possible. So those are the 3 main ones I'd like to keep: 3 downs, the Rouge, and 12 men on the field. Or, you know what? I'll leave them for you guys, because I could probably just go on. I'll probably end up naming all the Canadian rules. Ozzy, I'll let you go first. What 1 to 3 rules could be 1 to 3.
Nice. My mic was muted. I was gonna say is don't worry, Zach. Steve already took 2 of mine, so I'm just gonna stay. I'm just gonna say 3 downs and the Rouge because, I mean, the Rouge we talked about it a couple of weeks ago, Steve. Like it's just one of those things it makes it so unique. It makes the game so unique. It adds so much different, so much different situations that you need to adjust to and within the game. It's just it's very interesting there. And then the 3 downs. I mean, that's the Canadian game. You can't take away 3 down football.
Zach?
Yeah, they need to keep this with the merger as authentic to Canadian rules as they can. In my opinion, they got to differentiate. But I like the no yards. I don't know if they did that in XFL, but I like the no yards, giving the opportunity for the returns and all that. Like, it always made it so exciting on special teams that you almost expected like one good return a game or whatever. So I don't know. I really enjoyed that. And you guys took the other ones I was going to say 3 downs and such as well. And, but I, keep it authentic to the Canadian game with this merger. But yeah, I'm excited for what's to come.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the big discussion right now is like, there's people out there actually saying like they'd rather see the death of Canadian football than to watch any kind of merger and stuff. And I can't get behind that. I hope the game stays authentic to Canadian rules and Canadian players. I didn't even mention the ratio, but I think that's almost more of a off-field / on-field discussion rather than a rules discussion, because now you're kind of getting into labor laws in the States. And again, we're not lawyers. So yeah, I'm excited, but I'm also nervous because I believe if and when the CFL 2021 season happens, it's going to be the last iteration of what we've seen for the last 150 years. And obviously it's changed very much over that time, but since we've all grew up watching it, I think 2021 is going to be the last time we see a traditional CFL season. And like I said, next year could be the Edmonton Elk playing the Seattle Dragons in April for all we know. So definitely exciting, but kind of worrisome times. We hope, obviously, in a much deeper discussion that it doesn't negatively impact the grassroots level, which we try to promote here on the Amateur Agency in Third and Wrong.
Hey,
so
let's also think of the positives, though, guys. Like, they could expand and make something bigger, be more of competition. They won't be direct competition with the NFL. I guess direct in playing football, but a lot of opportunity with a guy like The Rock owning and helping out there. He has a lot of pull in a lot of areas, and there could be a lot of exciting things that come of it too.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, yes, we lose kind of what we're used to with the 8 teams moving to the 9 teams as we grew up and enjoying that. But there's so much opportunity that could potentially come with this too. And, for me, I would love to see that happen and grow it into something that is competitive in, football terms.
I agree, Zach. I don't think it's all doom and gloom, because now you're providing, 10 teams plus an additional merger. You're applying how many more football jobs, not just for players, but for coaches, scouts, media staff, trainers, marketing,
amateur agency,
accounting, us like that. That'll give us more stuff to talk about. Maybe we'll get to fly out to St. Louis and watch the Battlehawks play the Alouettes at the Edward Jones Dome there. So I mean, like, just so many cool things could actually come of this. Cody Fajardo becoming the undisputed best quarterback in the continent. I mean, that's really cool.
In the whole continent, just over Patrick Mahomes.
Over Patrick Mahomes, because Patrick Mahomes isn't playing in Canada, so who knows? Maybe he can't withstand the Canadian climate as Cody can. So,
and it's over. This
here.
Episode.
So you know what? We're gonna be the optimistic agency when it comes to this, and I'd rather see some kind of Canadian football than the death of Canadian football. So if that means partnering with The Rock and throwing a couple suplexes at games, doing some wrestling moves, rock bottom, then so be it. So you can find me on Twitter at SteveBolin22, and you can find the Amateur Agency on Twitter at the Amateur Agency, and you can find me on Instagram at SteveBolin_. Ozzy, where can the fine folks find you?
Oh, you can't quite.
Did you say Aussie?
Yeah, I said Aussie.
Yeah.
Did you say it? Oh, okay. My internet connection crapped out as soon as you said,
Oh,
where can the fine folks find you?
My bad.
All right, I'm here. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at AustinPaul_. That's Austin with a Y, not an I. If you don't know if you found me, just check for the guy that got ratioed on his last tweet.
when did you get ratioed, Aussie? Because I remember you asking that you got like, what's a ratio, and then
I just always get ratioed. I found out that what this ratio thing is, and I realized every time I tweet, I always get ratioed because somebody else comments something snarky, and then it gets more likes than me. I'm like, oh god. That's
but your
why I don't
bachelor
like Twitter, but I'll
your
be on
bachelor
there.
tweets do well for
My
engagement.
bachelor tweets are the only thing keeping me alive on Twitter.
So follow Aussie for analysis on the Bachelor and a little football on the side. Zach,
A little bit of football, yeah.
a little bit of football. Where can the fine folks find you?
All right, guys. You can find me on Instagram at ZachFoth_ and on Twitter at ZachFoth. I don't have anything exciting to say about ratios, but find me there. Yeah.
Don't get ratioed. Godspeed, and we'll see you back next week for episode 106 or 106, however you wish to enunciate that. We're still working on that. So, peace.